Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Repotting. I'm doing 2 Sharry Babies, when in fact it's 4 because I think there's 2 in each pot from memory when I last did them. And the last of the big Miltonias that needs basically chopping up and revitalising like I've done with the other 2. And I think we'll do that one first. Ugh. Right, so this one has grown over the side of the pot. Wherever there's a new growth, there's an old bulb with new growths coming out, which is where the roots will come from. Each one of those will get separated off and planted up separately. Now, this is actually spectabilis, however you want to say it. And the first thing I'm going to do is take these dead ends off of the leaves, because they make the place look untidy, and I don't even know if those leaves will actually be kept, but I just want them off. Right, so let's see what we've got. Oh, well, I know what we've got. Oh, there's actually a piece of rock in there. Right, so what we've got here is quite a soggy mix. Another piece of rock. Quite a smelly mix, and nonetheless, where the new growths are, we do have new roots coming, so that's the bits I'm after. Any other bits will be discarded. So the best thing to do is take those bits off first, then I'm not mucking about with roots that I'm not going to keep. So this one, it's got a back bulb, 2 growths, and each one of those has a new growth. So that's a nice piece. We'll keep that one. I'll take that off. There. Take the sheaths off. We'll reveal the new growths, and obviously any roots that come out can then get straight into the media. Also removes the hidey holes for the scale. Not that, you know, I think the hot box is working on the grounds that I just, you know, each plant I pick up and mess about with now, I'm not desperately trying to get scale off of it. You know, I do see, well, what I see is mainly bodies, which is good. These are X-scale, they have ceased to be. Right, so there's a nice little piece. We've got new roots coming here on this piece, not so much showing here, but then, you know, give it time. So that's one nice piece. Put that to one side. Let's get yourself some room here. Right, so that's one piece. Where else are we looking now? Yeah, I don't think that bit's too good. And this bit, it has got a new growth coming. I was just going to say, in this bit it's not showing signs of new growth yet, but it is there. It is there. Got a little brown patch on it, which could, well, there's one each side there, so there's 2. A little brown patch could be a sign of rot. So we'll keep that with a back bulb, if we can get that to come off in one piece. The back bulbs are shriveled, but I noticed on one of the other ones I did that having got it into some media where it stays a bit better hydrated and the roots down into that media, the older bulbs have actually plumped up a bit. So, you know, they seem to have perked up, which is unusual. Normally when they've shriveled that far, they don't. Right, so there's another piece. What else can we rescue? No. What about this one? Has that got new growths coming? Yeah, that's got new growth, so we'll have that one. And I think I might call it a day there. We'll get that one off. I always take the old sheaths off and old flower spikes when I've got it in my hands like this. I mean, I don't. Nice new growth coming there too. Good. Give it room. Just the one. Oh no, there's a sign of a second one. There may be a second one on there. Who knows? So there's some bodies of scale there. Yeah, I think they have ceased to be, which is what we like. So that's another piece. Are we going to get any more out of this? I can see a lovely new growth there, but it's on a piece that, let me get at it. You might be able to. Let's take it off there. Let's see what we've got. So there's the new growth. There's a sign of a new growth there, so although that's a secondary back bulb, two back from the growth the one I want to grow on, the fact that it's got a sign, it's got an eye there, might shoot out in two directions, that one. Who knows? But this is the main back bulb, the shriveled one, that I'm hoping might plump up. It's got no roots, but that's not how these plants work. They're, the rhizome connects them. So if one is feeding and hydrating well, then those nutrients can transfer to other places via the rhizome. So even though that part of the plant may have no roots, the other parts have. Is that going to be awkward to plant? No, that'll go in okay. Right, so those are the pieces. Those are the not pieces. That's what we're not having. Right, so put those to one side. Get that out of the way. That may well get used again. Right, next one is a Sharry Baby, 2 in the pot. And this is the one that isn't growing well. The other one is. The other one's filled a huge pot. And this one isn't. Proper tag on that one. And why is this one not growing? Badly shriveled. Dead roots, that don't help. And a new growth that's not really pushing a decent root system out. It's not a happy part of the plant, that. It's not good. That's the other part. As I said, there were 2 in each pot. This one is not so shriveled, but this one hasn't got a new growth. And it hasn't got a new growth. I'm desperately looking here, pulling the sheaths off. And there's no new growth on this one. No Joe crying again. Ah, there's the new growth. There is one, and there's signs of new roots. So that piece can pull on. These roots are just dead. I'll leave them, some of them on, otherwise there won't be anything to hold it in the pot. But I doubt if they're even functional, which probably explains why this has got a bit shriveled. Non-functioning root system don't help, does it? And that one's got virtually no roots as well. Right, so stick that up there for now, and this one, these are just dead. Is it worth keeping it? Oh, I suppose so. Everybody will only moan if I throw it away. It can go in a pot, it'll either make it or it won't. So that's the Sharry Baby out of that pot. And now you'll see why I'm not that fussed on that one, is because this one was just taken off like a rocket. Now that's a plant. Look, there's not a shriveled bulb on there. They're all big fat plump bulbs, and we have new growths. This one's not long finished flowering. So, and I can also see a mass of roots in the pot. Oh, it's absolutely filled, that pot. growth trapped there. Another one there. Solid mass of roots. This one's going to be difficult to do much with, quite honestly, because it's absolutely compacted. I can't get anything to move at the moment. I'm hoping that the bark will start coming out of the bottom, and then I can get my hand up inside and get some of the old... I'm not going to be able to get all of the old bark off on this, not by any means. Now, a lot of these roots are active. Unfortunately, they've got a lot of algae on them. And I've got a feeling I might drop this on and just put it in a bigger pot for now. Can't do much else with it, as I say, unless I start chopping it up, which is not very good. So I'm just going to see if I can start this bark coming out. This is the large bark, the crocking in the bottom that's the roots have got right down in that, which is good. This is the big stuff. I always rescue that because it's, despite being in a pot, it's still absolutely rock hard. And that, where's my camera, is a little snail. Was. So I now need to, is it just an odd one? I mean, I do get an odd little bush snail now and again, but there's not enough in here to be doing serious damage. And I would imagine that the hot box, the sulphur's not doing them any good either. I don't know whether it would actually kill snails. But anyway, we managed to get some out of the bottom there. So I'll be able to get some new stuff up in the centre there. Not too much, but yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to put it in a bigger pot and let it grow on. I don't very often do that, I must admit, but so I'm just finding all the large bits of bark. Rescue effort. They just go in a saucepan and get boiled for sort of 5 or 10 minutes and then dried off. Right, so that's all I'm going to be able to do with that. I'm just going to see if I can loosen some more. I don't think I'll end up doing more harm than good, I think. So that's going to need to go in a pretty big pot now and give it room to expand. We'll see what it'll do. As I said, these are large bulbs. It's a good plant. Strange that that piece grew on really well. Well, 2 pieces there are 2 plants, and the other one didn't. Now I don't know whether I put the 2 best bits in a pot and the 2 worst bits in the other pot. I can't remember. But anyway, we will have a clear up, and then we'll come back and get some potting done to sort out some suitable pots. Right, let's see what we can do. I managed to get my largest pot. I'm going to have to get some pots sorted out. I need to have a washing session which can then stack them up in their sizes so that I can see at a glance what I've got. Not now, but I've got a large pot for the Sharry Baby and a smaller pot for the not so good one. The Miltonia is going to go back in there and it will be done last. It's got fusarium. So I just had to sterilise all of this because obviously I'm going to sit media in here and there is a possibility of a spread from that function. So we will get the Sharry Babies out of the way, yeah, so that the Miltonia comes in here last. Now the last one I did had fusarium. I suspect the third one has, but that was the one that was done last year. But I will take the fungicide out and do all 3 of them when I've finished mucking about here. Right, so we'll get the big one out of the way first. And as I said, this is more of a drop on than a repot, complete repot. Yeah, there's enough room in there for that for a while. So I have to get it out of the way when I... Right, so what I've got here is some media that was mixed up before. This is nothing more than small bark perlite and remnants of moss. Now obviously the moss that's in there is dry, but there's not much of it. But basically I will pick up the big bits best I can, and we'll just put them in with the wet stuff so that they mix in, and then they'll get some moisture in them as well. So that's not much moss there at all now. So for the Sharry Baby I don't want a lot. I want some, but you know, it's an Oncidium type, not an odontoglossum type. So I don't think there's any odonts or cool growers in the mix for Sharry Baby. But if there is, I'm sure somebody will take great delight in telling me, like they usually do. Right, there's enough in there to just give a smattering, help hold some moisture in the part of the pot where the plant is now going to go. Ooh. Right, so plant out the way for a minute. That was a big beast. I don't think I've got any other Oncidiums that sort of size. It's not an air cone pot, but nonetheless there are holes in the bottom, so we will crock it. And we'll get some media in. Check that I haven't put too much in. Nope, that's just about right. And then we're going to get some up in there. And then hold my hand in place while I sink that down there. So we've now got some up in that gap. And then we'll just get this down the side. I'm potting on. So all I've got to do really is make sure that the new media gets in the gap all round the pot. And nicely pressed down as well. And those roots, it's a branching root system. They're branching all the time, and any new ones will go down the side anyway. We'll make sure this is in nice and firm and all the way round. Includes that bit there. Big gap there. It'll be difficult to water this now. Water's going to run off. Yep, that's okay. Tag. And off to one side for now. They need watering before they go back on the shelf. Right, now the smaller one, again, not an air cone pot, and we'll see what we can do with this one. I've got enough media for this one. I'll put a bit more moss on this one because this one hasn't got good roots at all. The moss, it does seem to encourage the roots. So I was just desperately checking the camera then, because unless you hadn't noticed, I'm hurrying. I've got to go out, and I want to get this done. I mean, it's just gone 9:30 in the morning, so I'm actually working quite early, and obviously I've still got to load this before I go out. So I'm going to crack on. I managed to repot 2 bonsai yesterday. But, I didn't film one of them because it was the same as the previous repot, the 2 two maples are virtually identical. They're not the same hybrids, but they've got different bark and different leaves, but in shape, size and maturity they are the same. So, repotting one is the same as repotting the other. This is not very good. I have a good mind to just throw this out. But we will try and grow it on. Do we have an eye on this one? Somewhere? Yes, there. So they can go like that. See, this is a problem plant, this one. This pseudobulb is over sideways and it just waggles around, and the only way to stop it, I'm afraid, is to take those leaves off. I don't want to take the bulb off because it's still capable of storing energy, but the photosynthesis has been sacrificed for convenience, nothing more, because those two leaves hanging out the side keep knocking other pots, and in some cases have actually knocked pots over. I've had to stop what I was doing and go and sort it out. You'd rather not have to do that sort of thing, especially as it is quite a large strapping sort of leaf that waggles around, and it can take little pots right off the shelf. How are we doing here? Too bad. Right, so we'll see what that can do. As I say, it's exactly the same plant as the large one we've just done. We'll see if that'll grow on. If it'll grow on and plump up, then it could always be for somebody else, couldn't it? Right. Now the Miltonia, where did I put the pot? There is the pot. Now this one's going to need quite a bit of moss in the mix, so we'll have to soak some more. Do you know, when I first started using moss, this stuff, exactly the same as what I've got here, I used to soak it for like an hour. And I've realised now that as long as you press it down in the water, it soaks in enough water to use within a couple of minutes. As long as there's enough water there for it to soak in. But yeah, I can even remember somebody saying, oh, if that moss dries out, you'll never wet it again. Utter nonsense. Of course it'll wet again. Mind you, if it's in a pot that drains incredibly fast and you pour water through that pot, it's not going to soak in much while that water passes by, if you know what I mean. So you just pour it through several times. And then perhaps don't leave it so long in between. Right, where are we? I think I might need a bit more, actually. I'm not going to plant this, I'm going to plant this shallow, so that the actual base of the plant will only be about halfway up the pot. So we'll see how we go. Right, let's get a good handful of moss in this. Just looking at the repotting list, there are still quite a few plants that are going to need this type of mix. Well, I say quite a few, some. But there are some that don't need any moss, like the Cymbidiums. The miniature Cymbidium, I shall have a look and see what that's potted in, because whatever it's in, I don't want to drastically change it. But that came from the Rithington School project, so whatever it's in will be suitable for the plant, and I'll just mimic it. you know, I'll just do whatever they did. Right, what have we got then? Right, that's the big piece, and that's got a new growth there and a new growth there, both supported by a bulb and both joined up to another bulb. So that's the strongest piece by far. So I'm just going to put enough there to hold it in place for now while I sort the others out. And then we've got a piece there with one new growth, supported by a bulb and another one. Why have I kept that one? Because there's an eye on it and it may shoot out, so I wouldn't normally keep that back one. So we'll pop that in. So about there. And then that piece is in a similar boat, two bulbs and a nice strong new growth. That one's got roots showing. And then this last one is just a little piece with a tiny little new growth, but has some roots. This is just a matter of a bit at a time, because I can't do it a lot at a time, is getting each piece to have some media on the outside of it for it to sit against. Yeah, it's not exactly going in it, it's leaning against it. So that it will hold it in place while I make adjustments. And the adjustments are to get them all the same height, which they're not at the moment. But I can't hold 4 plants all at the same time. So what I do is get them in a position where they can be lifted up gently. I won't be pushing any down, I'll only be lifting up. They'll either come up or they'll stay where they are. This one's a bit low, so it needs to come up a little bit. That one needs some more media with moss. More moss in the media near the top. The reason being that's where the roots will come out. And that's where, if that part of the plant stays nicely hydrated, those roots will grow on quite quickly. And then hopefully we will get the same result as we had in the last one, and the older bulbs will plump up. No guarantee, but it certainly worked okay in the last one, didn't it? So, right, what are we doing now then? That is about right. All the places where the new roots are going to come out have got moss next to them, in front of them. Yeah, I reckon that will do. That will do. I'm just going to put some bark in the centre, just that will water itself down in that gap then. Right, so we didn't put our Sharry Baby label in the little one, so we'll do that now. And then the label on this one is an old one, but I can read it, so it will do for now. Get round to doing that another time. Right, now that's got to go outside and be sprayed along with the 2 others, but first thing to do with these now is to go and give them a good water, make sure that all the media settles. Pouring water through does that. Leave them to drain, and then this one we will deal with along with the 2 ones like it. And there we go, that will do for now. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.